people read, if everybody actually read both. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but
I think the only
oh my
bad thing
god.
of sorry, are we live? We are live.
Yeah, we're live. Sorry, I didn't warn you. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to it's almost our 4-year anniversary, by the way. The next
That's
time we
crazy.
do one, it will
It'll be
be because
4
we
years.
started in November. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I pulled out the
You got your
t-shirt.
shirt on.
I
I need
did.
I was thinking I should get that shirt, but I
It was
was
like I
lazy.
actually did wear it not too long ago, but like it was in the back of my t-shirt tower. I have a
Yeah.
t-shirt tower with all the book shirts, and I was like, I know it's in there because I wore it not too long ago. When you asked me to do it again, I like put it on because I was feeling nostalgic for it.
Yeah.
So I wore it
Yeah.
not too long ago. But
It's a beautiful one.
I
I still
know, I
have
know. We need to like,
I still have my hoodie too. I bought a hoodie.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, we need to revamp those because those are cute.
Mm, they
So
are
it
cute.
works. But anyway, those of you who are watching us, hi, welcome to the revamp of the Rake Appreciation Society, which is
Hello, hello.
crazy.
Yeah.
Got the original gang back. Before we went live, everybody, I went back and I was watching our very first one, which I believe Crystal has like privated, but I still had the private link to watch it. I
I
think
put
those
them
ones
back
are.
up.
I don't know.
I put
Are
them.
they?
I
Okay.
think yeah. I was just checking when you said because I'm like I
Yeah.
put everything back up with the exception of like one or two, not live shows, just regular videos. So
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. Cool.
they should
Because
still be there.
I went to the Discord where we sent them all.
That's
So I was
right.
like, oh, it's
That's right.
there.
Yeah.
But anyway, hi guys. Oh my gosh, I
Hi
love to
Lisa.
see you. Everyone is
Hello. Hello.
safe.
Hi
Ah,
Linda. Hi
we're
Linda.
so happy to see you
Tiernan.
guys.
Hello. Hi Amy.
Oh, oh my word. Hello. I'm
Hello.
so excited
Hello.
for you all. Ruth, hi Ruth. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so much fun. So much fun. Oh look, everyone's popping on too. That's why I gabbed for a little bit because everyone's showing
Yeah.
up. As usual, let's start with I have two questions for everybody because before we go. So first, of course, tell us what you're reading right now, whether it's historical or not. We'll chat for like 10 minutes about that. But then also, did everybody read both? Did you just read one? Just let us know. It's okay. Are you just here to hear if you should read them or not? Melissa. Hey Melissa.
Hi
Hello.
Melissa.
So yeah, just let us know if you read one or both, because otherwise we'll literally just flip a coin with which one to go with first. I also went and got our original like 10 questions that we did. There was only one that I kept off the list because it had to do with who we would cast.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know any more actors than I do back then. So I'm like,
I probably know fewer, honestly.
I know. I was like, oh, that's so cute. We like
But
tried to
yeah.
know that stuff.
Hmm.
But I have our like original questions and everything, so it'll be great. So yeah, you guys who are watching, let us know. Did you read both or just one? Because maybe we'll start with the one most people have read. But if not, like I said, we'll flip a coin or something to see who's first. But Linda, I saw this reading Darling Duke, and you read
That's what
both. Of course you did.
yeah.
You didn't finish your reread yet, did you?
Me, no, I'm still reading it.
Okay.
Are you talking to me? Yeah. I'm still
Yeah,
reading
yeah,
My
yeah, yeah.
Darling Duke. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you guys are doing chapters of that or if you're just.
Well, it's broken up in chapters on the app, but I think next month I will try and do like a reading schedule because I feel like if without that, then discussion doesn't really happen a whole lot because people just kind of read it and they don't talk about it, you know? So,
Right. They don't want to spoil anyone, so then they
yeah.
wait.
And
Yeah.
like you don't have to go into a chapter unless you've read it, but I still feel like if there's like a set deadline of you read this week, then it's easier for more people to be on the same page instead of,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah. Well, I mean, look with us. We gave ourselves 3 months, and like I still only finished the last one 2 days ago.
I
You read them this
finished
week.
it
Like
today.
we
Yeah.
gave ourselves 3 months. I mean, the one I did read early, and then I forgot everything, which is exactly
Yeah.
why I didn't. You know,
That's
I read
that's the
50
thing.
books since I read that one.
Yeah. I always wait until the last minute and then I'm usually finishing like within a few hours of our live show.
Yeah, yeah. But it's good though because it's fresh. But that's
Yeah.
also why I did take because I had to write a couple notes. I was like, okay, I want to remember everyone's name and that.
Oh
So
gosh, yeah, names. That's gonna
yeah,
be
I
That's
know.
gonna be
So
tough.
I wrote them down. So I got our backs here for everything. But okay. You only read the Tracy and Warren. Good to know. You read nothing. Oh, that's okay, Melissa. Maybe we'll inspire you with some of these, but I totally get it. No
I
good
feel
deed
like a
goes
lot of people are in
unpunished.
a slump right now.
I feel like they are too. Or lots of people are like rereading stuff, which I mean, I want to reread more stuff.
Yeah,
No Good Duke, love it. Tiernan, love to see. You only
that's a
read
good
Tracy
one.
and Warren. Funny
Tracy
story,
Tiernan.
love it. Oops, ah, my thing's being slow. Come on, there we go. Currently reading Curse of Blood and Stone by K.A. Tucker. Oh yes, I saw this, Crystal. I saw you were reading this. Burn of the Everflame
Oh,
and Kate by Tate James. Got it. All right. Currently reading Marion Haste by Anne Gracie. Ah, I need to get on those Anne Gracies. I need to get on those Anne Gracies because it makes me laugh because I read Anne Gracie before, like a lot of people did, but I
hmm
haven't read any since I read her. Um,
yeah,
and I read her because one of you guys requested that I read her, and I loved it.
yeah.
Then I never went
I
back.
remember that.
hmm Yeah. Well, they were on.
Oh my gosh.
I can't
Sorry.
remember if it was when I had. No, no, no. Keep going. I remember it was on the library app when I had for a while, and like nobody was checking those out, so I was able to
hmm
read them.
Yeah.
Ooh, good choice, Ruth. Oh my gosh. Except Sierra just said she's pushing the last book like 6 months.
I saw that today.
Oh, she left us with like the worst, well, not the worst cliffhanger, but it was a pretty bad cliffhanger. She just tortures you with hers too. Currently reading A Touch of Golden Madness. Ooh. I don't know if I heard of that one. I'm so behind on fantasy romance though, so
If I saw the cover, I would probably remember it. But all of these, a touch of this and that, or a blank of this and that, they all blur together
yeah.
for me.
Part of the Everflame was looking burn of that. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Hi,
Well,
Kamal.
it looks like I most people just read the Tracy and Warren,
I
so we will
know.
start. I
That's
thought it might.
okay. That's okay.
I I'm not saying anything yet, but I'm glad we picked two books because I just think it does give people variety too. Then, because
Yeah.
there's like if you're not interested in one, at least we promise to always read both, so that if you
Yeah.
read one, we're here to talk about it. That's our job as the host, is to at least read.
Yeah.
Read Going Nowhere Fast. Oh yes, the guitar room has made a.
Yeah. This is my husband's guitar room. He plays guitar, not me. So
It
it's
looks
his
different. It looks so
I
different
think
than.
he changed the lighting. And I have a different camera. This is my phone camera, which is a better camera than the web camera, but
Yeah.
it's his
Well, it's good.
office too. So
We don't have to listen to Cosmo make
Cosmo.
commentary on our
We
book
might
club,
have
though he is
to.
an important member.
We might have to hear him. Yeah.
Will
You can
he?
still hear
I
him
love
from down here.
it. Right. I love it. I love it. It was funny too. Sorry, one more comment on this. Rewatching the
Oh, go
live
ahead.
show, I could tell that you would mute it whenever he was barking because there was long periods of it where you're just sitting there like glaring over here while I'm talking, and I was like, Cosmo must be barking.
He probably was. I'm sure he was.
He was like
Yeah.
a puppy then too. So anyway, just all of the I'm having all the nostalgic feelings for him. And let's see,
Yeah, I
mentioning
know. And that's okay because we're gonna I mean, I really wanted to read the Courtney Milan. I know Jen did too, but that
I
was the one
do.
where I was like, I for sure want to read that. And I don't
Yeah.
know. And because we gave
I
us so
want to
much
read the
time,
next one. I want
me
to read the next
too.
one too. I want to read
I
Andrew's
bought it. I bought it. I'm so excited.
anyway. But okay, well with that said, guys, we'll get started then. We're 10 minutes in and we'll start with It's in His Kiss just for everybody. Just in case as if we're going to talk about the second one and you guys don't want to be spoiled for it, we'll start with this one and if you want to, but we'll get into all the goodness. So we're going to start by Tempted by His Kiss. And we even got a little bit of step back action going on. Very beautiful and everything, except can tell these aren't character accurate photos because he's not all scarred and everything. But
Uh,
let's, with as I said, with a blast from the past, the first question is, what were our overall impressions, and what was our rating for this
All right.
book?
I'm excited. I'm excited about this. I'm not going first.
You're not going first. Focus on mine.
No.
I gave this a 3.5 star, and I
Okay.
would round it down to a 3 if I had to.
That's
So
exactly what I gave it. It was a 3.5, but it's not a 4. It's definitely a 3. Yeah. That is hilarious. That is exactly my rating.
yeah, and not to blow through it because in the questions we'll go through the whys. But I wrote the beginning was a 4.5 for me. I was
Agree.
hooked. I was
Agree.
hooked. I know, right?
Yeah.
See, this feels great. You were worried too. You were worried too. I I had no loyalty to this author. First time picking it up. It's just I wanted to read Tracy Ann Warren, so I was like, man.
Yeah.
I said I loved forced proximity snowed in romances, and that's
Oh
what was
yeah.
really being sold to me. So
And
I
it
was
was
like,
so
ooh,
good. It was so
oh, so
good.
good. And I assumed when they got caught, this was going to be a marriage of convenience. And
Yeah.
sadly, it became a fake engagement. And then it just mostly
I
went down for me.
I
So,
so agree. I so agree. I was so disappointed in that. I was like, what is the point of I'm not I didn't hate it, obviously. Like a 3 star is still like a good book. It's a book I definitely had problems with, but it's not like I hated it. Like a 2 star is a book that I really didn't like, you know? But yeah, it was
everyone agrees. Yeah, it was
didn't love it,
okay.
but
Yep,
liked it. Yeah. Yeah.
I
I think
carried.
it was solidly okay. Like it was fun enough, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like I feel like I talked about a while back in a vlog or something that anything below a 4, there's something frustrating me about the book. And
Yep.
even though there were things in this book that were kind of annoying, I wasn't in like a state of frustration as I was reading it for the most part. I was just sort of like, meh, like it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can also see why people would like it. Like
Yeah, I would agree.
it wasn't inherently offensive to me, but we'll get into it in just a second. Let's see what some of other of you thought because apparently most of you read this one if you read it. So keep telling me,
Yeah.
and then we'll go into the other ones about more detail. Round it up to 4. Saw the beginning. Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Big agree.
Gave it a 4. Love the first half, but the heroine. Oh, interesting. Interesting choice.
She definitely
Mhm.
kind of was. Honestly, I would agree. She was.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. They yeah, let's go. I'm already holding back stuff that I'm like I have things to say. So
Okay.
we'll start. Oh wait, let's see what someone else said here. What did someone say? It did seem logical that they would expect someone to offer for her when she's already engaged. I
I agree.
know.
That was the thing. That was the thing that was bothering me. I'm like, what? Who came
So
up
you
with this
expect
plan?
people to be cheaters. Like you expect people to be cheaters.
Like, how is this a logical option? I just couldn't.
Yeah,
That whole
yeah,
thing just was like, I don't get
yeah.
how that.
Well, because
Yeah,
the difference, and again,
yeah. We knew what you meant,
um,
Linda. Yeah,
but like the difference being like Duke and I also does this, but he's courting her. He hasn't
yeah.
proposed because it's like so you just assume everyone on the ton is trying to steal everybody's women is basically what you said. Because if she's engaged, it should have been she was anyway. No, I'll save it. I'll save it. I'm running ahead. What did we like best? Let's start with what we like best because I did
Okay.
like stuff and all the things I don't like we'll save for that part. So what did you like the best? Which we kind of said, but tell me.
So obviously the beginning, I liked the beginning. I love a snowed in romance, and I thought that it was really, really well done in there. I also will say that I did like the hero. I think he's a very classic historical romance hero. He's scarred, he is very possessive and protective. He always kind of duels with I want her, but I'm not good enough for her. Like so I liked him. I thought he was a pretty solid hero. I didn't really have any issues with him necessarily.
Hmm,
Um I don't know. You go
no,
ahead. No, you don't
no,
agree?
no, no. I don't disagree at all. I'm waiting. We used to rate our heroes, so will be funny when we get to that part of it.
Okay, okay, yeah.
What did I like? Nothing you say is wrong. I just have a glass face. I'm just listening. Nothing you said is wrong. What did I say? So I liked her not putting up with him being a grump in the beginning half. Like
True.
she's like,
Yeah.
dude, I have to stay here. do you want us to freeze? You like, we have to stay here. Just, she kind of was like, I don't know what you're trying to say. Like, we have to stay here. Like,
Yeah.
she just was like, dude, we have no place to go. And his people too are like, sir, they're stuck. Like, they're snowed in. That's what that means. Like, what are you doing here? Because he was very, very grumpy in the beginning,
Yeah.
like almost mean stuff. And
True.
then a couple other things though. Something that I have made like a micro trope I like is using chess as foreplay or a game as
Oh.
foreplay. And they
Mhm.
absolutely did this. Absolutely,
That was great. I
I
agree. That
love
was
that.
so fun. I really, really loved it. Like, again, like I feel like the beginning was near perfect. I really liked the beginning.
Yeah.
The game
Yeah.
was excellent. Yeah.
That happens in like, like Run Cozy Run type of thing, and in Her Villain, which is a recent one I
Yes.
love, where the heroine is like smarter at him in this thing that he's sure he's gonna be like placating her with. Like,
Uh-huh.
and then she's just like, okay, well, what do you think I did? Like, I sat at home and like did this a lot, or I think her dad taught her strategy, right? Is that what it was in this one? Uh, you read
Was
this sooner
it?
than me, to be real. I can't remember why she learned because she was with her parents, right?
Her dad had just died, right?
Yes. Yes. And she had
And
traveled
so,
with him a lot and stuff.
yes. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It's been it's been right at my edge of memory for this. Didn't really care for this one, got
Yeah.
bored. Sorry, it didn't click. You don't have to be sorry, girl. You don't gotta be sorry at
There
all.
I sorry, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead.
I will agree that probably for the last half, it was pretty boring. It was kind of like, okay, I got to power through and get this done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. What happens for me, because I enjoyed this narrator a lot, was listening
Yeah.
to this one. I listened to the first half on a drive. This was actually camp weekend, so I was listening to it, loving it. Then I got home, and when I start getting bored with this stuff, I read ahead of the audiobook when stuff
Oh.
like this happens, because I'll be listening to it and I'll be like, nope. And I'll go until something interesting happens and skip to that part of the audiobook. This is the thing I do when I'm trying to speed read through something that's not
Yeah,
worth it,
that's a
you know?
really good trick actually. Yeah.
Because I'll be like, oh, this chapter, is anything else good gonna happen? No. And I'll start a fresh chapter and go,
Yeah.
that's just a me thing. And I was doing
That's
that
pretty
over and over
brilliant.
again.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta get through it. And I was like, oh, it just took a
Yeah.
turn. So anyway,
It
the other
did.
stuff I liked though, I'm already completed. There was a couple other things I liked. A couple other things. Um, I liked his family, and I liked how she felt included in his family. And like, she's an orphan now, and his family was so intrigued by her and liked
Yes.
her.
Yes, true.
And
Yeah.
obviously they figured out what was going on very easily because they're that smart type of family. But
Mhm.
I will say, like, I would continue with this series, to be
Yeah.
fair, because it being
Yeah.
the beginning of one, um, I would read more having met other siblings and stuff. And
Yeah.
that happens. The amount of book series that the first book doesn't get me. I mean, would I have
It's
ever
true.
read another Lisa Kleypas if I hadn't read After Cold Hearted Rake? We'll never know,
That's true.
because I was just about it and kept going.
And
What
I
about
I
you?
do feel like all the foundations for this, like I liked her writing, I liked the banter, I thought was really good. I didn't mention that before. I
Mhm.
thought the banter was
Yep.
really pretty great. I think she has a lot of interesting and fun scenarios to put her couples in. So yeah, this is definitely an author I would read more of. I would continue the series too. I feel like there are only a few historical romance authors that I've read and I'm like, no, I
Right.
cannot do them again, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, because it's funny how it goes is like we get a little tired of tropes. We talked about
yeah.
that, stuff being marketed by tropes, but they've always kind of been. They weren't
Oh
marketed
yeah.
with the tropes. But when you look at these series, like there's specific tropes that show up in every family series. There's a
Mhm.
wounded hero. There's the Duke or the Viscount brother who's trying to make sure there's the sister who's been treated like a baby the whole time. Like they're you know, in every single one. They just weren't marketed trope forward back
Yeah,
then. But they were
true.
there. So,
And I
like
and I
this.
feel like sorry, go ahead. No,
Nope,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Like I feel like in similar ways, I'm sure that they had maybe like editors or agents who said these tropes are popular right now, so they would write around them. So it's not necessarily different necessarily than what's happening today, where maybe independent authors or whatever are seeing these go viral on TikTok, and so they're like, I want to include that in my book. Like that's a really good point. Tropes have always been around, always
Yeah.
been around. Yeah.
Well, because why else would you write like a blurb
Right?
about a thing? That way
Yeah.
you mention them. Like,
Yeah.
because, Sally's waiting in line to buy her groceries and is like, oh, snowed in. Oh, cute. I like it. And puts it in her pack. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Yeah.
anyway, you started falling asleep. Totally understand. Like I said, I
Yeah.
was skimming through it because I was like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna finish it. Because I also knew that was the thing when I got home from camp and I was starting to be like, oh, I don't like this stuff in the cities or in London now. Which what buttons am I hitting over here? Which we could. There we go. Go to what we didn't like least. I was like, if I put this down, I'm not going to pick it back up until the week before because I was getting to that, like, I don't know if
Yeah.
I want to pick this back up. So that was also why I was skimming through things. So we'll go
Yeah.
into what we didn't like the least because we're already talking about it. But the things I liked is I liked, of course, the beginning. I honestly, someone else said it too. Ashmine, is that you say your name? Ashmine. Um, if this had been Marriage of Convenience, which is where I thought it was going, I also would have loved it. If he hadn't have
Yeah.
been so like, no, I won't get married again, which he has reasons for. We can get into that when we get to the hero more, but like I that's what I was wanting it. And when he's like, no, 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 I won't marry you. I'll help you get married. I was like, oh poop. That's what you're gonna go instead. Oh, fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, one other thing. I think my issue with tropes is
Yeah.
when the author clearly writes the tropes just to check the box instead of organically incorporating them. Yes, yes. Because I completely agree with this, Lexi, because I like when the author writes the books and then tells me what the tropes are
Yeah.
for her book she wrote. I don't love when the author hasn't even written the story yet and is listing all the things she's going to put in the book, which is what a lot of,
But
our small town authors are doing. So,
and I feel like though this is so dependent upon reader tolerance too, though, because a lot of readers, especially readers who are new, they will not pick up on that at all. They'll just be like, "Oh, they're on a horse together, only one horse, or only this, or whatever," you know? And that's not a
mhm,
bad thing, but I feel like the more that you have been a reader for a longer time, it's very easy to catch and be like, "Oh, well, they just shoved this in here," you know? It's like the nuance isn't quite
yeah.
there, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, and one more thing on that, I feel like part of the whole reason I started, like me, myself, and I started doing trope recommendation videos is because they weren't as obvious to people.
Oh
So,
yeah. That's a great
part of
point. Yeah.
the reason I was like, oh, well, these ones, so you know at a glance which ones are Marriage of Convenience or which ones are Age Gap. You don't have to like. That's why those videos I feel like first started, or back when
Hmm.
Jessica was making them, because she's the one that I got the idea from. Is she was
Yeah.
doing that with romance,
Yeah.
and I just was like, well, I'm going to do it for everything. So I just took it and ran. But it's because the books weren't like they would say one thing, like it would say it's a friends to lovers, or it
Hmm.
was a second chance. Like that's all we would have. And in some respects, I feel like that is enough. But also, if you need to be convinced, then the little things like help. But everybody's different. But that's just an evolution I've seen in the last 5 years is like, yes, we said what the tropes were because there are certain things you're looking for, but they weren't like you weren't getting trope reveals. Like the trope reveals are literally done before blurbs are shared, when the covers are shared. Like
Hmm.
the books I'm signed up to promote, I literally get, do you want to be a part of the trope reveal? Like, I just was like, can't you just do that all at once? But literally, like, no joke, because I signed up for a cover reveal, and while I was doing that, they're like, do you want to be part of the blurb reveal, and the trope reveal, and the audiobook narrator reveal? And there's a whole list of things, and I was like, no, I just want to reveal the cover and then read your book. Like, I don't need
Yeah.
to be a part
Seriously.
of anything. All
Uh,
right, so yes, the things we like
yeah.
least, everybody, give us that. We'll get into that. I did get bored towards the end, and yeah, the I'll help you find someone married. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. That said, I rarely read a blurb. Sure, and took the trope graphic and decided exactly, Leslie. And it's because we're used to it now, though, right?
Yeah.
My whole point is we used to have to read the blurb and then try to piece. Oh, okay, it's her best friend's dad, so it must be an age gap. Like you'd have to figure that out. You know,
Yeah. True.
so.
Okay, you go first this time, since I went first last
What I
time.
like the least? Did you?
Hmm.
Okay. Well, again, we've been whining the whole time. I literally wrote the fake engagement to find another husband is the only thing I wrote. I was like, people saying explain the logic. Like literally, I wrote one sentence, and it was like a fake engagement to find a different husband.
Yeah.
Explain yourself. Like, oh.
That is
And
that is
yep.
truly the thing that I just feel like that's the thing that makes you see all of the other cracks, because it's
Mhm.
like, seriously, like the illusion is broken, because that just makes no sense at all. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I kind of understand where she was going, just because it's like it wouldn't be appropriate for her to be living at his house if they didn't, because they'd
Yeah.
already been the thing is they'd already been caught together is the
Yeah.
thing. So that's why they had to go that route. But that's why I was like, why didn't you make it the marriage of convenience, as everyone keeps saying? If
Well,
you
and
wanted it to be the other thing, you know.
I mean, and I think it's obviously the reason why she didn't is because of his traumatic past, which is my major thing that I did. Not his traumatic past necessarily, but I just feel like the tonal shifts in this book were wild. They were wild. Like, we went to something that was so traumatic, seeing the scene, seeing him knowing that his love is going to be assaulted, and the after effects of that. And then we jump right back to him, like, having sexy time with her. And I'm just sort of, that was just, and not even just that, but then there would be banter. It just felt like we were swinging so wide, the tonal shifts. Like, I didn't feel like that was given enough gravity. And if that's the reason why he doesn't want to marry, then the plot she's come up with does make sense. But then it also needs to feel like weighted more, I feel like. I don't know. So
Yeah.
that was probably my biggest issue, was I felt like the tonal shifts were crazy, and it made it feel so unbelievable. And it also didn't really, like, I think that the way that she gave him that traumatic past, which is solidly traumatic, it feels very like a token trauma, just so she can provide a reason for why they have to have this fake thing, which, is annoying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was my least
No,
favorite thing.
yeah, because my second part of it was that it turned. Ooh, almost hit the exit button. Don't hit that on the computer. Anyway, try not. Um, was that this became, because someone's review I was reading after brought up that like they liked the mystery element to it, and I was like, that's what I didn't like. I didn't like that this became a mystery thing. Like, I think there
True.
was a
Yeah.
way where this could have been a snowed in, um, like if this had been kind of snowed in the whole time. Like,
Mhm.
I know that maybe doesn't logically work if it's like, oh, they snowed in the whole winter. We're not in Alaska or anything, right?
Yeah.
Um, but if it had been her like uncovering his trauma just there with him, and then maybe
Yeah.
his family came to visit to make it more appropriate that they were together. Like if we'd went that way with it, of like, let's turn it into a house party, and he could have told that nosy neighbor, oh, she just got here before my family did because of the snowstorm, they're coming.
Yeah.
To, like, because then I don't know. I just didn't like being involved in the ton. I didn't like that he saw this guy who had done all that, and we were gonna have to try to prove what he did, and it turned into like a Scooby Doo thing at the manor or whatever. You're right. The saying like the gravity, the weight of it was wrong is correct, because what this needed, if his trauma is that like all of
Mhm.
that, this needed a. I'm gonna bring this up, the Kerrigan Byrne type prologue. I'm
No,
gonna
it
bring that
did.
up
Yeah. Yeah.
because I just watched us talk about that when I
Yeah.
watched our first.
It's
Like if it had started with that to show what his trauma was, and we knew what
Mhm.
it was going in,
Yeah.
that would have changed it, you know.
Yeah. It would have.
So that was missing for me. Is it? But you put it into words for like why that didn't work. I just didn't
Yeah.
like that it went from a snowed in to a fake engagement that was kind of like humorous to then him
Yeah. Yeah.
seeing this person who'd done that. Like,
Exactly. It
you
was
know,
it was
yeah.
it was a weird reading experience. I feel like that just made for a,
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't like that at all personally. Like, I, but again, I feel like this author. When was this book written? Was it 2000s?
9, yeah, 2009.
2009.
Yeah, I just
Okay,
checked it.
I was thinking
Hmm.
it was much older for some reason, because
I
to me
know.
it feels
Hmm.
like she's putting in a lot of the things that classic historical romance readers want, like kind of a bonkers plot, some side background plot, side plot, dark themes, I mean, I feel like she was filling it with everything that historical romance readers really wanted at the time, or have like historically wanted. But it made it feel like it wasn't like it felt like none of it was given enough weight that it should have been. Like I wish she would have picked a lane, you know? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Take engagement to find a husband. The logic is flawed in the plan, but I didn't hate it. I just felt like, especially in that time, it isn't realistic. So I thought that it was a bit off. Okay. Yeah, because you gave it a 4.5, Lexi. So you obviously weren't as like,
Yeah.
that's fair. There are plenty of things that are for romance reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are plenty of things that's what they are. So totally get it. Listening to Crystal. Yeah, I know. Well, that's why we're here, everyone, to listen to Crystal tell us this stuff. I love it. I'm here for it. But yeah, that's what you said is a thought I was having when I was writing my notes, is that I knew it was '09 when I had picked it, because she has an older series too, which is what I almost had picked. She has a series that is called like it has to do with like weddings, people marrying the wrong people, the wrong husband, or like the stuff that like, and I almost picked those ones, but I went with this because it said it was a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and that made me
Oh
want
yeah.
to.
Yeah.
I was like, we love those, which we do,
Yeah. We
but
do.
we do. And if that's what this had been, I would have loved it. But
Yeah.
yes, I feel like it had some of the bonkers of an old school plot, but yet
Yeah.
it tried to be too humorous at points too.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if it had just stuck with the heavy tone and went for a dark
Mhm.
romance, this could have been really interesting,
It
you know?
really could have been.
So,
Yeah.
because he
Because I
almost was
feel
like a
like,
Rochester. He was like a
yeah.
Rochester type character. So
And I did actually like how when he was like having those flashbacks or those really painful memories, and he would kind of wake up with her and not realize what he was doing. Like I do feel like that kind of provided an like a moment of healing for him to move forward, even if it was kind of a weird setup. Like I kind of liked how she did that, but again, it felt like I don't know that that's what she was intentionally trying to do, or if she was just trying to create some other type of angst, or I
yeah,
don't know. But
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and not to like, well, that not to rewrite it because we can't, but that's why I feel like if it had been the Snowden, if they'd
yeah,
gotten Marriage of Convenience instead of going there, like I said, his family had come, but then they're dealing with him having those nights. Like if that had been what it was centered around as being the thing, we've read that before. We've read it being
yeah.
like we can't share a bed because I have
Mhm.
nightmare, and like working that out. And then let's say he gets a letter from someone saying that this guy has showed up in London and that makes him want to go,
Yeah,
and she follows him there. But they're already married. Like that could have worked to me.
yeah.
But woulda, coulda, shoulda for it. So, all right, continuing on so we can get to this is why I was smirking a little bit, because we used to rate the hero.
We got to
Which I
bring
thought
this
is fun.
back.
I know, but it's fun. So it's out of
It is
10
fun.
though, so it gives us lots of room.
Okay.
And yeah, because I rated him a 5 out of 10.
I'd give him a 5 too, honestly. Like I feel
Yeah,
like he's a very middle of the road. A 5 is like a solid. Like I don't hate him, but I don't love him. Like he's definitely
yeah.
a 5. Yeah.
To me, it's a failing grade. That's why I gave him a
Okay.
5. But I don't think he's horrible.
Yeah.
It comes to me of like he wasn't consistent. And the
Yeah,
reason he
that's
wasn't
true.
consistent, I didn't feel like it was enough to do with his trauma why he wasn't consistent. Like it
True.
was just
Yeah.
way too much like that. And so, because I can handle an angsty boy. I mean, we're going to get to one in the next book where they are resistant till almost the last page, but you still like want her to pick him. Like there was multiple
Yeah.
times where I was like, girl, just pick somebody else. Like the times when she was kind of courting other people, people
I
actually were,
know.
and of
Yeah.
course he's getting possessive, like which is
Mhm.
what we're supposed to see. I was just like, girl, that's a better option. Like he's not making any things to change. Like, because what moves does he actually make to change? They defeat the bad guy, and then he's like, okay, now. And
Oh,
to
that's
me,
funny.
that doesn't make sense because,
Yeah.
like, where were his moments he was working through it? And I
Yeah.
feel like, again, if that had been focused on him needing to work through that with her at their manor, but then he's like, no, I have to kill this man to, like, he gets word the guy is back and is a hero or whatever. at least then that would make sense because he's like, I'll be better for you. I'll be able to be a husband if I kill that guy and he's
Mhm.
gone. And that would have, I don't know. That would have that would be a very Mary Ballard version of the story, in my
It would
opinion,
be.
is what I would feel. Which she's not. Tracy Ann Warren is not. All right, 5 to 6, 5 or 6, 6. Yes, yeah, same. What? And you said you feel about the
He,
same that he's a 5 or
oh yeah, I think he's a 5 for sure. Yeah.
okay, okay.
But
And
5
for
is like
her,
middle of the road, not
for
a
you,
fail.
yeah. Well, I see what you mean. I'm going by like I should have said
Yeah.
letter grade if I meant letter grade, but to me, I'm like
Yeah.
if your kid brings home a 5 out of 10
Yeah,
on
that's
his
a
math
F.
test, right? That's a I saw that
I'm
on a.
like, yeah, he's about in the middle of the pack. Yeah.
But if you did it that way, but it's also like a 2.5 if we go down to our 5 scale. But
Yeah.
because this was where, so Cade was the name of the hero. Sorry, I was going to remind us. His name is Cade. Really great hero name. Love it. Love a
I do
Cade.
too. Yeah. Yeah.
And the heroine was Meg. Now, I gave Meg a 7
Oh,
because there were parts where she was too stupid to live, but the things that she was too stupid about, like how could she, I don't know. I feel like there was
true.
nothing she was dumb
That's
about that
true.
she could have known better. Like she
Yeah.
didn't know what she was stepping into, and the situation she's put into where she's trying to be loyal to him while he's being like I liked that
Yeah.
about her. So yes, she wasn't using perfect sense, and I wish there'd been something that had to do with like how good she is at like strategy in the beginning that
Ooh,
proved that she was
yeah.
able to help him because
Mhm.
she's set up to be very smart. I wrote down, I
Yeah.
was like, she's an orphan. She knows how to be like, oh well, you're my cousin, you're not just like I'm gonna have you traveling with me. Like she's quick on her feet. She has knowledge that like she got from her father from like being around him and things like that. So when she's trying to help him, the situations show her being dumb, but I feel it's because the author didn't use what she'd already given her heroine, if that makes sense.
True.
To
That's a
me,
great point. Yeah. She did have an inconsistency like that from the author. That's a really, really good point. Yeah.
because I thought she was a very smart person. And
Yeah.
her, like, he's the one jerking her around of, like, I'm going to help you find someone, but then I want to kiss you here, which again, I know that that is a thing we like. Like, we like him feeling that way, but he's told her no, 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 like over and over. So she's like, okay, well, I guess I'll dance with this guy. But
Yeah.
then you just forget. So I just
Yeah.
think that she did what she could with what she had, but that's me. So,
That's a really good point. Yeah, I was gonna she's probably a 6. I mean, the beginning
yeah,
she was really strong. Overall,
yeah,
I think she's
give it
probably
more
a
points.
6 for me. Yeah.
Yep,
Um,
I think
but
that's
yeah, I
fair.
think I agree with everything that you're saying. She really was set up to be an
Yep.
excellent strong heroine, and she was very stifled by every action that he did. She couldn't really react in a different way. So yeah, that's a really good
hmm
point.
hmm
Yeah.
Well, because especially I felt for her so much when they get caught because though I see her trying to be like, no, I'm just gonna go where I'm gonna keep going. He's like, I'm sorry, but like I've ruined you now. We have to. And so her being stubborn and be like, no, just let me go. Like I
Yeah.
understood her being like, I'm not expecting to be accepted everywhere anyway. I'm gonna go live with my aunt. Just let me get out of this. And he's like, nope, I gotta take you and pretend to be dating you
Yeah.
and introduce you to everybody. And honestly, she probably would have been okay
Which
just going to live with her aunt. Like, I don't think she would have been shamed out of anything where she was going. So,
And I feel like everything that you've said about the heroine, and specifically how the hero's actions and demands have really forced her into decisions she wouldn't, that makes him lower. So now he's a 4.
yeah,
Honestly, he's a
yeah,
4 because
yeah,
I that's a frustrating man. That's not husband material.
yeah, yeah. The thing where, so when someone said too stupid to live for her, I think a lot of it goes to her last action, which is like going to the place where the person's it's going to be it's going to
Mm.
be an ambush. But like he does it too. Is kind of my thing. Like thankfully
Yeah.
he has people who have his back. But that was a bad situation all around. Him accusing the guy in public, him doing like
Oh
all of this
yeah.
like that way. I was like, dude, you have a powerful family, and I know you're like hiding
Hmm.
stuff, but like you are not. And I know that was
Hmm.
supposed to be like a PTSD reaction where he just can't help himself. But anyway, I just think
Yeah.
she this author bit off more than she could chew with this. Is
No,
it's
I
like
agree. Yeah.
You know, the fact that his woman was like raped and tortured in front of him and that was done to him. Like, it'd be one thing if he was like kidnapped and like beat up and she was being held. Like, I was
Yeah.
sure that she was actually a traitor. And then I would have been
Mhm.
okay with more of what happened. Like, if it was fake, what had happened to her,
Yes, yes. That would have been so much better.
right? Like, I was expecting her to show up. Like, the whole time,
Mhm.
I was like, other woman's gonna show up.
That would have been
And
so much better. Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I just was sure that's what was going to happen. And then it was like, oh no, all of that stuff really happened. So this isn't dark enough then. Like,
Right, right. Because his reaction was just not what I would want to see from him, you know, like
yeah,
yeah. Great, great,
yeah,
great read on the characters, Jen. That was
yeah.
great.
Well, thank you. I was like, I got to pull something out of this book because it wasn't giving me what I wanted. Like the Courtney Milan, much more nuance. But okay, a couple more with this one. Oh, wait, let's see what you guys said. Sorry, run away with this. Felt like she lost a lot of her smarts. Yes, fair
Yeah,
enough. I think so too. Started at a 7, but went down when she rode the horse and followed. Yes, I agree. I
yeah,
agree.
that's
Again,
true.
if she had like told his family like we're going after him, like then she can
Yeah,
still go. But bring people with you, babe. You don't
yeah,
know how to fight this guy. Like literally, you're told he's a war criminal who tortured and raped a woman, and you're just like, I'm coming, honey. I'm following you. I'm like, yeah, but no.
yeah,
Frustrated with Meg, but I tend to take it easy. She just all done it. Fair enough. Like
yeah.
like I said,
That's
I give her a 7 too. I
I think yeah,
will not remember them after today. Like I barely
yeah.
remember them for this. I just know that
It's
I took
very
them.
forgettable, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I also have this, which there wasn't much of this.
Right. This was so underwhelming. This was so underwhelming for me. And and I feel like it makes it worse because of the fact that I read this after a book, you know. So
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, I was not a fan of this romance at all. I feel like there was hardly any
Yeah.
relationship building. It was
Yeah.
it was all just, you know,
Yeah. At least it wasn't raunchy, but they
yeah,
are all physical. We
yeah,
didn't see tons of physical stuff, like it wasn't an
right.
explicit story, but what else which again, he's falling for her smarts in the beginning.
Yes.
Like they're
Yes.
playing the games, like this is all about intelligence and the things she knows and the way she's able to keep up with him. And then the things that he's possessive over is the people like touching her and
Right.
I wanted him
Mhm.
to think like she's going to be playing that game with somebody else,
Yeah,
sleeping around
yeah.
playing with
That
somebody
would
else.
oh my gosh, wouldn't that be great? Are there I need a book like that. I need a book like that so badly because I am so tired of not that I don't love it because I do love when a man is like, "Don't you touch my woman." But I'm also like, yeah, the thing that they share to see her do it, that's pain. I want
I
that type
know,
of pain
I
in my
know you
in
do.
a book.
There are some, man. There are some where it's just like it's not about the other stuff.
Yeah.
It's the like, but you're not going to be there teasing me or poking at me or making
Mhm.
me have dinner like an adult. Like that's the stuff that got him intrigued.
Yeah.
Um, So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I don't. This was one of the ones where, like I said, if this had been a story of her falling in love with somebody else in town, I would have been equally ambivalent towards it.
Yeah.
Um, again, what kept me in is his siblings. I'm very interested. Well, not, let's not say very. I tend to use these extra words I don't mean. Like, I'm intrigued enough to read another one of the
Yeah.
siblings.
Mhm.
I believe Amber got the whole series because she had done a post that like she wanted to get
Oh,
this book and she bought the whole series with it. I do kind of want to try the others, especially since there's audiobooks for this whole series. I
yeah.
would read another one
Yeah.
of those.
I
But
would I would do it too. Yeah.
yeah,
I think it would be really interesting to see what she does differently
right.
in another book.
Yeah, with because wasn't there was the dad had died not too long ago, right? Or is the dad even still there? Can't remember. His
Her
dad.
d
His dad
Oh,
dead?
his dad?
Because
I
was
don't
the
remember
brother the
seeing
Duke?
him. It was the brother was the Duke, yes. So the dad's
Okay,
gone. You're
the
right.
dad is dead.
Yeah.
But I love that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So
For
anyway,
sure. For sure. I also
Alexa
do.
just said, "Ugh." Yeah, the romance was. I
It
don't think I
wasn't
read.
romancing. Yeah.
No, I don't think I read a single one of the sex scenes. Not that there was many. I was just like, but he's gonna wake up having a nightmare, whatever, and move on. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and I think we have worked
Yeah.
through this kind of already.
Yeah.
This one honestly is more for the other book because there's some things about that one. And we've also kind of said this. Would
Yeah.
you read this author or read them again? Yeah, I definitely will. I will. And I do
Hmm.
want to try the ones that everyone's recommended to me, which is the one I'm really intrigued by. I think it's the wrong wife one. It's where it's a twin situation where like her sister is supposed to marry him and they swap or something
Hmm.
is the one everyone recommends. So I definitely would read that. Let's see. Let's see. I also got the series on a lot on
Yeah.
eBay. Yeah, I would definitely try more. I think that's why I got bored. The
Yeah.
relationship didn't really go. Mhm.
It really
Mhm.
didn't. It really didn't move forward
Yeah.
at all after that snowed
Yeah.
in stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts on this, anyone? Final call for
Y'all have
this.
to stay. Y'all have to stay
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It's
You do have to stay.
it's the rules, even if you didn't read it, okay? I'm just
Well,
kidding,
like if you don't want
but not
spoilers,
really.
just make sure you save it because we got stuff to say. All right. Next up, we have the Marquis who must.
Did
So
anybody read this?
I hope someone did because honestly, if we'd only picked one, guys, we would have picked this one because I also
Yeah,
wanted this one. But then
she
Crystal was
did.
like, "I picked this one," so I was like, "Okay, well, I'll pick a different one."
Yeah,
Um,
Jen put a bunch up for us to decide, and I was like, okay, if you want that one, let's have this one be my pick because I super duper want to do it.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I couldn't believe I pre-ordered that book.
I
It
did
came out,
too.
I think, in like when did it come out? Like
It
last
was
year,
like
you think?
early. Oh, was it? I thought it was this year.
It
I
might
think
have
it
been.
was
It
right
was
before.
early.
It was like right before we decided to do this.
Okay, because
I
I
feel
maybe
like,
pre-ordered it at the beginning of the year and it came out only like
yeah.
not too long ago.
I think it was spring.
Because the third one just came out like last week. So
I got that one immediately. I'm
yeah,
so excited.
I know, me
Okay,
too.
sorry.
I saw it was
Tell
about
us.
Andrew. I was very excited. Oh, people are gonna go. Here we go.
Oh, I'm so
Try to guess.
excited.
4.5. Well, you have to rate this one first. So
Okay.
you tell me what you
You
rated
want
this
me to
one.
rate it first?
Yeah,
Okay. Are you
it's your
sure?
book. You go first. Yeah,
Are you
go for
sure? I don't know. I gave it 6 stars.
it. Nice.
I
It
freaking
sounds like
loved
it.
it. I loved it. This is
Yeah.
exactly what I want in a romance. The romance
Hmm.
part between them. It was, oh my gosh, it was, I loved it. 6 stars for me. I
Oh
absolutely
yeah.
adored it.
I was afraid
Yeah.
you're gonna hear this. I don't care, and I'm gonna DNF. Oh, it hurts.
I
It
mean,
hurts.
it's a personal thing, right? Like, then pleasure
Yeah.
for me.
But this is a Courtney Milan problem. Like,
Yeah.
just for readers, not for us. This is the third one we've done for this, I believe.
She's pretty
I think we've done
polarizing, I feel
three.
like. Yeah.
And every time, I think we've been the same. I gave it 4.5, rounded to 5. It's a 5-star book for me. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
When I was going back through, I compared it to her other ones I've read, is why I end up at a 4.5 and not that for
Yeah.
me. Just because when I look back at, I've read 5 of her books, and this one is like right in the middle of them all for me. The
Mhm.
worst I've rated one of her books is 4.
Yeah.
They've all been
Yeah.
like 5, 4.5, 5. And there is a couple of reasons we'll get into for mine, but like I enjoyed it. But what I'll say
Mhm.
for the overall thought part is that I was struggling until 60%.
You really were.
And
Yeah.
I was reading this one for almost 2 weeks because
Yeah.
I would read a chapter, I would try to plow through, and I was like, not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. And then there was a certain scene, which we'll get to, and I was like, there we go. And then as I'm like, God, I love this. And I wanted to start messaging you, but you hadn't started yet. So I was like, okay, I just need to wait. I just need to wait. Because then I was like, this happens every time with her. I'm almost ready to DNF it. Like I'm
Mhm.
bored. And then she just starts pounding you with scene after scene after scene of just like rip your guts out.
See, and
And I was so
I never feel bored with her books. I really don't. I
yeah.
feel like she does such a good job. of the setup of the characters and the setup of the relationship that
Hmm.
I'm just invested in the story from the get-go. Well, that's not true. I did read The Duchess War, and it's my least favorite Courtney
Yeah.
Milan that I've ever read. So that one is the outlier. But the other, I think I've read four of her books. I read the first in the series, the one we did for book club, and then this one. And so far, this one is my favorite. I need to put this down.
Nice.
But
That's okay.
yeah, I read this
Nice.
in like a day and a half, which is, I mean, I had the time to sit down and read, but that's pretty quick for me to read a physical book, you know. So
I know she does. She didn't do. She hasn't done audiobooks for these ones, and it
these are
doesn't look
her
like there's
indie
plans
ones.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the first one has it. The first one had it, but she hasn't for these
Oh,
two.
it
The
does?
Dooku didn't has one. Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
That's how I read that one. I
Yeah.
loved it. I listened to that one all in one sitting, and so
Yeah.
I agree. Like if there had been an audio for this one, I probably wouldn't have struggled to get into it because I
Yeah.
love usually who performs. It was just getting started with
And I
these
feel like
people. It's tough for me.
it's a very short book. I feel like it's not really long at all. Linda.
It was like 360 pages in my Kindle, so like it was long.
Yeah, but like
So,
when I'm looking at the physical one, like there's
I know.
huge margins in it and there's a pretty big space. So,
Sorry.
I mean, I don't know how that compares, but again, I've been reading like Brandon Sanderson, which is 1,300 pages. So that was a fast one.
Really like this was 2 stars, Linda. Linda,
Linda, you're
you
breaking
can
my heart.
leave, Linda. I'm just kidding.
I felt
We
like this
love you,
book was
Linda.
so romantic. I adored it. But again, like this
Hold
is
on.
exactly what I'm looking for in romance right now. Like a very slow, very tentative, very little kind of like almost understated romantic gestures. I feel like this book is full of those understated romantic gestures, and I live for
Yeah.
that. I love it.
Yep. I
Yeah.
know you do. I know you do. Okay. What did you like best about it? Which I think you were saying now. I was pulling up my
Yeah.
notes because I took lots of notes on my Kindle Scribe, so I had to pull it up for this.
I really just loved the whole relationship between them. You know, I loved how he saw her beautiful as she was, and I loved everything about how he saw her and how he was the whole plot line with him wanting to be free and to be an honorable man. Like I even though he was calling it a fraud, you know, it was all to make him so he could live with himself. Like I love a man of honor, and I feel like that's what he was, especially considering what he came from. I loved him as a hero, and there was just like the everything how he saw her, the small things about how he saw her, the way that he made the pottery for her specifically to hold, and so she
Hmm.
could not see herself as
Hmm.
clumsy. Like
I know. I
I
know.
loved it. I
It's
loved it.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
I could go
Um,
on, and I will on my own channel.
we
You're
will.
gonna hear from me.
Well, we will. We ain't done, man. We spent 45 minutes on the bad book. We'll give this as much time as we can.
Yeah.
So what I loved about it is honestly, Naomi is my favorite part.
Yeah.
Um, because of the way she like took in the world and
Mhm.
what she wanted, and it wasn't her wanting ambulance classes so that she could like be an independent strong woman, hear me roar. It
Mhm.
was so she could serve people with it.
Yeah.
And I love that because her parents being so like, you don't need it, you don't need it, you don't need it, of them thinking like, whatever their reasons are for not having it, like she wasn't wanting that to take it and go somewhere else with it. She
Yeah.
wanted it to serve her community. And I'm just like, come on, guys, get it, like, get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I
But
loved other stuff
I
too,
mean,
but I just love that about her and how I have more to say about her when we get to her, but like that was one of my favorite parts. And she's what kept me reading when I was a little boy. It's not that I didn't like the things I was seeing from Kai, absolutely love him too,
mhm.
but we're following it from her point of view for this book. Like it's mostly
Yep.
all from her because it's a mystery what he's doing and what's happening.
Mhm.
And really the only scenes of just him we get are when he's talking to like the village guy and stuff like that. Like when the guy who's
Yeah.
like,
When
"Oh, that
she's
was a
not
long
there.
time ago." Yeah,
Yeah.
when he's like, "Oh, that was a long time ago." I'm not mad at you. What are you talking about? It was your dad who did it, not you. And he's like, "Well, everyone else in town doesn't feel that way."
Yeah.
And this guy who like was one of the people who lost the most in it is
Mm.
like, so the frustrating
I
part is the town, and the best part is the town of this.
That's
So
that's so true because I mean I love few things more than a redemption story, and I feel like that is exactly what this was. This whole thing was a redemption story, both with Naomi and with Kai and with them getting together. I feel like so much of it is getting past their own preconceived ideas of who they were or how people saw them, and oh gosh, it just I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. So,
yes, yes. Um, we'll do this quickly because a lot of the stuff I have to talk about is character specific for it. So really the only thing I wrote, and this was why it's not higher for me, is that
mhm.
the plot and the reasoning of this was just way out there for me. It was just a little bit too much,
Yeah.
which I know. I knew we were in Wedgeford again, and they're a little weird
Mhm.
there anyway. I remember from the first one.
Yeah.
That was just what kept me from it until we started getting like a little more happening with them. Is
Mhm.
just there's so many characters in this village. It's also, I'm just being real, a culture that I'm not familiar with, so there's a few things going against it just for my entry into the story, not against the story of itself,
Yeah.
just of my mind reading it. So yeah, there was just a good chunk of it where I'm just like, okay, what's what's happening here with this and everything.
Yeah.
um
And sorry, go ahead.
Nope, that's about it. That's really what that half star doc for me was,
Yeah.
the first 40 to 50% of me being like, why is this happening? What's going on? But again, Courtney Milan does that. She doesn't answer everything for you.
Mhm.
She makes you pay attention. And I have a lot
Yeah.
of like my notes are like, oh, I'm noticing these things. And I just think we get spoiled with stuff being fed to us. Even when I get annoyed that stuff is fed to me, then I'm like, well, why isn't this being fed to me? So it's this thing of like,
Yeah.
I have to choose to be a very engaged reader when I'm
Yeah.
reading Courtney Milan, and that is, like I said, a choice you have to make.
Yeah.
Um, and it reads different than other
It
historicals,
does. It
even
does.
now
Yeah.
does, and
Mhm.
that is a barrier to entry. But that's just why. Um, and again, because I'm ranking it again, for me, I was ranking against my other experiences of her books, and I feel like the first one in this series was easier for me to slide right into. I really was like in it right away, which is why I love
Mhm.
one. And then her other ones I've read, they're so angsty that I was just wrapped with attention the whole time, in both I think it's the Turner series, as well as the Mistress one, her very
Mhm.
first one. That one just tore at me the whole time. So that was the one too where like I remember our live show so clearly, because we were both like, what did you think of this? And I was like, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Because to the
I wasn't
last
sure you were gonna
page,
like it. Yeah.
I know, to the last page of that one, I was like, what are you doing, Courtney Milan? Like,
Yeah.
this hurts. It hurts so
Mhm.
bad. So this one did not hurt quite the same way. It was very
Yeah.
just like, but it did push you to the last page of it, which we'll
It
get
did.
to, where I was like, oh, she's doing this again. And I just wrote so many notes. I was like, she does this every time. I should be prepared for this. But she takes you right to the edge where she just
Yeah.
is like, anyway. So that's what I like the least. Did you have anything you didn't like?
Honestly, I do feel like I don't necessarily have anything that I liked the least. I feel like my whole reading experience with this is that everything was fitting together and making sense as I was reading. And so I was like, okay, we need to have this, we need to see this character's point of view. We need to have this in the backstory for his whole motivations to be working. And I feel like because like I don't have like I have kind of a fascination with Asian cultures and things like that, and so I kind of had like a basis for why he was doing what he was doing, and so his whole quest for honor like slotted right into everything that I was like, okay, yeah, and it was very easy for me
Mhm,
to get on board with him, and and I thought that was also really well done because there were times when she wasn't. She was like, well, why do you have to do this? And I think that's because she was raised in an area that was different. You know, she wasn't raised in China or Japan. And anyway, so I don't feel like really there was anything that I liked the least. I truly, I mean, for a book to be 6 stars for me, there are either things that are so overwhelmingly powerful for me that I love that I forget about the negative things, or I just didn't see any. So I don't really know that there was anything that I liked least here.
Great. I love it. I love when it
Yeah.
happens. It's wonderful. Um, Let me see here. Minor things. Romance felt second place to the characters' journeys. Fair enough. Mm-hmm.
I can see that. I sort of feel like I can understand that, Lisa, for sure. I do sort of feel like the characters' journeys were a crucial part to the romance, and that's what makes it feel like a full romance. Because without those
Mm-hmm.
journeys, the romance doesn't exist. The romance can't move
Mm-hmm.
forward. There's no story without their journeys there. So, but I do understand where that's coming from because yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I'll save this part for the romance question because I have some serious stuff to say about that. But which book did y'all like better? Um, well, it's been a long time since I read The Duke Who
yeah.
Didn't,
I
is the
haven't read
thing.
that since 2020 when it came
Yeah,
out, but
yeah,
as of today, I like this one better.
yeah. I believe that I had them about tied because if I looked
Yeah.
back, I'm pretty sure that one was a 4 or 4.5.
Yeah, I
But
feel
there
like
were
I liked that one a
also,
little better than you did too back then.
yeah.
But I
I
remember
don't know
you
though.
really
I
liked
rated
it.
it really high. I think it was
Yeah.
probably a 5. I just
Yeah.
also didn't like pick it apart the way with this one was actually for
Hmm.
book club. So I'm like really looking into things for it. But they're both fantastic in my opinion.
Yeah.
So those are great. Okay, so rating the hero.
Oh boy.
I have, oh, this is easy. I give this a 9 out of 10 for him. And the thing I use to describe him is competency kink, is what I
Oh
describe
yes.
this guy as. There's a sentence here that says, there was something about a man handling a long, thick of length of, wow, I just threw a word in that doesn't exist. Excuse me. That word is here. There was something about a man handling a long, thick length of dark brown clay that made her itch from the inside. It was just so proficient with his hands. I was like, oh, write that down. But in everything that he did, in what he
Mhm.
noticed, in what he observed, in the acts of service that he was providing, in all those things. The only thing he wouldn't notice is about himself, the good parts, because of course he wouldn't. And that's not the
Yeah.
point that I'm taking off, doesn't have to do with that. But that's the type of man that is like, as you said, the honor that needs to be fixed, but then also once everyone is like, you've done it, it's done,
Hmm.
you did it, he's just like, it's never going to be enough, and it's like, it is.
Yeah.
Now you're one
Yeah.
of us, and like, it's done, so like, stop beating yourself up, right? And so really the part of it of like, some people won't consider this a knock against him because you know, you just love the angst of it. But for me,
Mhm.
it's really the like, to get to the last page. You've slept with this woman now. You've paid your debt for all these things. She has told you she loved you multiple times, and he's
Yeah.
still ready to walk out until he wakes up. It makes for a
Yeah.
very dramatic, beautiful moment. Like we'll get to it with the romance
Hmm.
section, but me, you know, like I need at least another chapter of like happily ever after, especially after they drug us to the edge of the cliff like that.
Yeah.
And the heroine is just like, okay, if you're gonna walk out, like it's okay. Like she was
Hmm.
just like, that's why I love Naomi so much. Is I could
Oh,
not
she
be
was
that
great.
woman, but she was it. So him, I loved him. I loved that sense of honor where it's like he could have stayed gone. He did not need to fix this. I mean, he didn't need to fix it. He was a child. This was done to him just as much as it was. But I loved him. I love that he got to have a moment of the town standing up to his dad for him. And
Hmm.
like, and when Andrew punched him for him, because that would have been very disrespectful if he'd hit his own dad. Like I
Yeah.
know that much about like that would have, even though they all hated him, like for him not to have to do it,
Hmm.
to have someone else, not only someone physically do it, so he didn't have to, but
Yeah.
also for it to be like, get the fuck out of here. You aren't welcome. He's one of us. You're not. Like whatever game, like he's so worried that like this man's gonna ruin everything that he's been working on, and they're just like, hey buddy, we know who the bad guy here is, and it isn't you. Step aside. We're gonna take, like, I just love that moment so
Yeah.
much because all of the groundwork he laid, you know, even her mom, who of course is holding out for more than one reason, is just like, I don't think you're good enough for my daughter. I've seen these. And everyone's being like, but the child isn't the father. Like, he's
Hmm.
not. And he's proven it over and over and over again. And yeah, so he was great. He was wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, 9 out of 10 for me with him. So
I'd
that's
give
it.
him a 9 out of 10 as well. I think I agree with you. There is that part, like you were saying, right towards the end where you really wanted him to accept and acknowledge, and he does, but it's hard. But I mean, there was so the times when we did get his internal dialogue and he was thinking about her, it just like destroys
Hmm.
me. There was one towards
Hmm.
the end where he said something like, all I want is her. He's thinking that's all he wanted was her the whole time. Everything that he does in the whole book is just like he doesn't ever feel worthy of her. He only wants to help her. He only sees the good in her. Like he is pretty much a perfect hero. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
he's great.
yeah, yeah. No, and like I said, the him making the bowls, her being like, and then her owning it when she's like, "I'm not clumsy. I had the wrong tools. He gave me the
Yeah,
right tools," and I'm just like,
yeah,
just love
yeah.
it so much. So
It is
there's
good.
our lone other Raider gave him an 8. Love it, Lisa. Thank
Thank you,
you. Thank you
Lisa.
for having
Thank
read
you,
it. It
Lisa.
was wonderful.
Yeah, it was a great
Okay,
one.
and now we have Naomi,
Naomi.
who I also gave a 9 to.
I
I
gave a 9 as well. Yeah.
uh very quickly I really liked her too. Which I will say, like with Courtney Milan's heroines, what I've
Yeah.
noticed is there's really like two ways that they go for me. Which I mean, a lot of heroines are like this, but with hers, I feel like I'm rarely ambivalent towards one of her heroines. I
Mhm.
either hate her till the last chapter, and then I think she's the greatest heroine I've ever read, or I immediately love her, and everyone else just needs to get out of her way, type of thing.
Yeah.
And Naomi was definitely one of those, and it's set up for me because um, the way that the way that Courtney Milan does feminism in her books is my
Mhm.
favorite. It's why I will
Yeah.
continue to read hers
She does it so
because
well. Yeah.
she always puts it in there,
Mhm.
but she always does it in a way where it's like, yeah, because that is what women should have and deserve
Mhm.
without it being like the woman having to say that and be
Right?
a blue stocking or whatever.
Mhm.
She's just like, Mom, like you said, I could do this. I'm this old. Like, why aren't you letting me do this? And finally, when it clicked for her that, like, they're not going to let me do this, she goes to do it. And then she doesn't ask for permission. She asks for forgiveness. And also when she gets heated with her mom, like I felt annoyed with her mom. I
I
was
did too.
like, bitch, stop it. Like
Mhm.
your daughter is a great woman. Like, why are you being this way? And it wasn't until that discussion with her mom where she like explains how she got where she was and that I was like crying and I was like, we're still divided by our like by our like by our upbringing, but
Yeah.
her mother loved her so much. They just don't show it in that way. And the difference in Kai and Naomi's like upbringing of like her feeling kind of iced out from her parents in a way, and then
Mhm.
Kai feeling fake love from his dad and getting when he would get it, it was like fake. So anyway, I love Naomi. To me, she was the rock star of this book, honestly.
Mhm.
Um, I loved all of her stuff at the end where she's telling him like I love you. Like she says it first. She is like, why do you have to go? Like why can't we be together? Like one of my notes I was like God damn, I love this girl. She's the best. Like I those are in my notes here. So I'm just like she starts off so quiet and like demure in that way. And by the end, she has the whole town like on Kai's side.
Yes.
And you know, and it proved too that like what she felt was teasing was actually the town loves her. And
Yeah.
Kai kind of points
Yeah.
that out where like they're always like pretending they have like injuries. Well, she gets to practice on them when they're, doing that and like, they all loved her too. She always felt like she was being teased and really like they love her. And,
Mhm.
it's hard to be self aware about that when you feel ugly and so every tease feels like a jeer when it's not,
Yeah.
it's just love. That's something I think we all can understand of like some people tease differently and some
That's
people
true.
like When you
Yeah.
don't have any self-esteem, you can't take that type of, and it isn't until she has a better view of like her relationship with her parents, her relationship with Kai, and all these things that she now is like can see, and so her and Kai kind of like switch throughout the book. And I think that's very skillful, is like the more that he's showed her how to observe things and taught her a few lessons, then it's her turn to be like, you don't have to go. No one's chasing you away. You are home. Like, why would you go and be lonely when you can like stay? So anywho, that's my long thing on her. I love her. So yeah, it's your turn. I just talked for 20 minutes about her.
Oh,
You tell me
no.
what you love about her. That was
No,
all me the whole time.
I agree. I think she's definitely a 9. I feel like probably I love how it wasn't a huge struggle for her to be able to see her mom's point of view, or to be able to like put herself in her mom's point of view for all these years. She's felt so ashamed when people compared her to her mom, and the things that she learned about her parents and the different way that they love each other and what she thought it was. Like, I just really admired how she was able to changed these thought processes that she'd had forever, or what she assumed was reality. And then when she had new information, she was like, oh, I guess all of these things that I thought, and how much that like changed her, the confidence that gave her, and confidence in herself and confidence in the things she could do. That was fantastic. And I also loved how she, that one moment when Kai was saying like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Like, are you sure you want to be with me physically for the first time?" And she's like, "Look, I want somebody who wants me and who likes me, and I don't know if anybody else is ever going to." So I really liked her sort of acceptance of that, even if it was a little painful, and I don't believe that it was true. But I think that kind of allowed her to free herself up to make choices that, if she was holding out for something better, she wouldn't have been able, if there was something better, like she wanted Kai, she wanted to move forward with that. And I loved how she always saw the good in him too. That's something that I think is
Hmm.
just such a beautiful part of the whole romance, is they each see the good in each other. Even when they are first meeting each other, they see
Hmm.
positives. And I loved that. I
Yeah.
thought it was so good. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
fabulous. I gave her a 9. I like her.
Hmm. I found the quote I meant to share of the type of feminism I meant that Courtney Milan writes, that I love, because
Yeah.
it's how I feel. So it's when Kai's dad is there, and he's it's come out that like, yeah, Kai was engaged to her, and he didn't quite explain that in the beginning, and then her parents didn't explain it either. But instead of like freaking out about it, she's like, oh well, it makes sense. Like, what you've just said is a surprise to me, but also, of course, that's what was going to happen. I love
Yeah.
that she didn't, because I was like, oh man, when she finds out. Well, yeah, she finds out and she's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, he's like trying to make her feel bad when she's like saying something to her, and he's like, you don't think my son would want to be with you, blah, blah, blah. And Naomi says this thing. She's like, why is it always like this? Anytime someone wants to quiet a man, they shower him with praise. And anytime someone wants to quiet a woman, they insult her.
Oh.
And she says even more. She says, you cannot insult me with Kai's love because I know that it's true.
Oh, I just love it so freaking much. I just love it so much.
And one more. She says, you cannot insult me with myself because I know who I am. You come in here and imply that your own son has been lying to us for months. You expose yourself as a doer of wrong with that alone. We all know the truth, and it has nothing to do with you. We see you for who you are, a charlatan who doesn't even have the decency to care about his son. Show him to the door. It's great. Like,
She's so strong. She is so, oh, gosh, I just love her. Yeah.
I know that, because that's exactly how so many of Courtney Milan's heroines are written. Is
Yeah.
that like that's the lesson she's learned through the whole story? Is the like, my town isn't trying to quiet me. They want what's best
Hmm.
for me, because they all are one big family, and that's what made what Kai's dad so horrible. Is he used that family against them all,
Yeah.
and that's what Kai is like working to fix in so much that he does. is he's aware too that it was more than just the money that was stolen, and
Mhm.
why everyone, like, it hurt them for future things of not trusting people, this innocence of this town type of thing, you know. And so all of these things she's observed, she's watched, they've learned through her observing him and through talking with him and seeing the skills that he has. And so that gives her this moment where she gets to finally have her say, but it
Mhm.
isn't this big, loud, crazy thing. She's just saying, like, you look stupid. Like you're in here posturing and spitting stuff and trying to turn us against each other. Like, why would I believe one sentence out of your mouth when I've
Mhm.
observed him all this time? And that is something that never happens in books. Because what would have normally happened in this? This would have been like a third act breakup. The
Yeah,
dad would have come
yeah.
in and said the thing, and maybe she wouldn't have believed it long term, but she would have had the doubt. And she doesn't have any doubt.
Mhm.
And like, dear Lord, I wish we would put that into more books. And I know why not. We got to have a third act conflict somewhere. But like, the
Yeah.
conflict is already there. He's planning to leave. That's what the conflict is he's wanting to leave. We don't have to have him like running out of there in this. And Naomi is like, you're the liar. You're trying to do these things. I know who Kai is. I know how he feels about me. You can get out of here.
Mhm.
And what would have been such insecurities for her, because she feels ugly, she feels like no one will love her, she's felt all those things, and Kai has erased them one by one through the whole book.
Oh gosh,
And
yes.
here we are. And maybe I could get 6 stars too now that I'm talking about. No, I don't know.
Everything you're saying, I'm just like, yes, yes, yes.
I
I
love
just, I
it.
love it.
Yes, Linda, try it again, okay? Because
Hmm.
all of these things I'm saying right now, I didn't feel them until about 75%. Now, I know that's a long time for people. I didn't start to be invested till 40%. But once I'm looking back on it from those, like, all those things are there. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of, like, I wish I'd had an audiobook for this. I know that's a complete, but like, I like to consume historicals through audio. It's very hard for me to stay focused on a historical without an audio. Same with
Mhm.
fantasy. I need audios for fantasies. I just do. Because if I had an audio for this one, I would have gotten to that point faster, and I probably would have, I would have experienced it all the way that, like, Crystal, you read this probably in like almost one sitting, I'm sure, right? Because you read it the other day.
Pretty much,
Um,
yeah.
I took 10 days to read it. So that first 50% took me a week. And
Mhm.
then I read the last two in two chunks. And then I was like, oh, wow, it's all come together. So
Yeah.
I feel like if I hadn't drug it out, I could have, like, it would have been even more.
Yeah.
But there are books who grab me and I read the whole thing at once too. So that's just why I was like, it's not like perfect because I feel it. But I really think this was so powerful. But Courtney Milan is always like quiet builds.
Yeah,
Like
she
they
is.
all are. And that's what so many people have said that they like DNF her. And I understand. Like, I'm not like,
Mhm.
oh, it's too highbrow. Like, I understand why you would, because if I hadn't been reading for, I had the book for a while before we decided to do it for this, and I hadn't started it yet because I was like,
Mhm.
oh, she's tough to get into.
Yeah,
So,
she does require yeah, she definitely does. But
yeah, yeah.
I
Anyway,
I was so happy to see this came out because it had been a while since she had written anything at all. And I think
it
she's
was a
just
big jump.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just love her stuff so much.
All right, we'll push on. I'm sure there's still a couple ones here. Love the third act. I'm gonna bump it up. See, we're talking people into it. Let's go. Let's love the way we both talk about it. Happy
Yeah,
Candace. This is what I love. I want to
I
just
know.
dig into it with you. We're here for it. We're here
We
for
love
it.
it.
Yes. Okay. Just a couple left. And I'll let you like just go with this because I talked way too
Okay.
much. It's your turn. You go. You go, sister.
So I read this right before I started um the Tracy the one we were just talking about. What the heck is that called? Tempted by His Kiss.
Yeah.
And it was such a stark change to go from this book, which I feel like is, like am always talking about, I love the little quiet romantic moments. And I feel like that, like there were endless moments in here that
Mm,
were like that. Everything from the moment when he steps up to be like, yeah, I'm her fiance, so she can take these classes, which isn't necessarily romantic in the beginning, but it still like speaks to his character of who he is. And
yeah.
just the way that they fell in love was so, even though it's interesting because I've thought like, would they have fallen in love so beautifully if they hadn't both realized they were going to have to say goodbye? So it felt like every interaction that they had
Mm,
was like so sweet and so tender. The way that she would come to watch him work on his pottery and how he would anticipate her going there, and just even like the talk about just the kissing, how she, when they had their first kiss and he was like, I think this was, has she been kissed for the first, like, oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful and so lovely. But I will never get tired of a hero who sees that the heroine has something she's self-conscious about, or something that
yeah.
she feels like is a weakness, or something that she feels like is a flaw, and he
Hmm.
makes her secure about that, like, he, and not
Yeah.
necessarily just with words but in his actions. And I feel like he did that over and over again, and I
Hmm.
will never recover from the fact that she was so self-conscious about eating in front of him, that her
Hmm.
cousin was
Yeah.
teasing her about eating in front of him because she's so
Yeah.
clumsy and she spills and she makes such a mess. And immediately he's like, it's not that she's clumsy, it's the dishes. Her hands are so small, the pottery. And so
Yeah.
what does he do? He makes her pottery, so not necessarily so that she doesn't spill, but so that she can feel good about herself. Like,
Hmm.
is there anything more romantic than a hero who is going to
Yeah.
build up the woman? Like, that's
Yeah.
what you want in a life partner. That is, I feel like that's just so romantic.
Yeah.
I can't. I was a goner at that part. I was like, well, this is
Yeah.
obviously going to be a
I
six
know.
star.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and just the like, it's not just like to see something, but to be aware. And that's
Yeah.
really what we both were, is like everything had like weight to it.
Hmm.
And part of it too is like Kai knows everything he has will have weight to it because
Yeah.
he's going to be watched by everyone as well. Um, and just how he is so quiet and steady about it, like delivering the dishes to everybody and just being like, I'm doing this, I'm serving, I'm here to serve it. And
Yeah.
in a way, too, like the village, because as you said, the culture of like honor, like they also accept him doing it. They're not
Yeah.
quite ready to like accept him yet,
Mhm.
but first they accept that, like, oh, you're trying to make good. You
Yeah.
should. So we're accepting it. And it isn't until more in when they're like, why are you having to make good? You were a kid. That it dawns on them more that, like, oh,
Mhm.
of course you should make good. We were done wrong because, it is a generational like honor too. So
Yeah.
that's why they're like, yes, you should make good for your father. But then there's also the like, but why are you doing it? And he's not, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. So it was beautiful. But I think
Oh,
that rolls in with this here.
it it was beautiful,
Um,
like the way that, and she did that same thing with him, how she
mhm.
was so, all she saw in him was the
Yeah,
goodness in him. And the
yeah,
way they both came to each other's defense, they
yeah.
would never hear
Defending him.
a word about him, like,
Hmm.
it just,
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like this whole book is so romantic. I just feel like
yeah. Yeah.
it's so
You brought it
beautifully
up,
romantic.
their like first kiss when he's like scared in
Yeah.
this beautiful way because he knows he's getting in deep and he's
Hmm.
like, it's gonna hurt me, but like I don't want to hurt her is what
Yeah.
he's all about. Because he's like, I know I'm in trouble. Like he knows so soon, he's like, it's gonna hurt so bad. Like he knows already. But when we find out plot things, what the fraud is, it isn't the fraud. Like I was wondering if there was a cerebral thing of like the fraud was like fixing the fraud and like tricking the
Hmm.
people into it, which is I think supposed to be what it is. But when we find out what the fraud is of like he's actually going to make them a bunch of money with his fraud
Yeah.
that he's
Yeah.
doing,
I
that's my
I know.
favorite thing.
I know. I was kind of preparing myself to be a little disappointed because I I love all types of heroes to an extent, but I have been longing for this specific type of hero, like a man
Mhm.
of honor, a man of his word. And so I was kind of preparing myself to be a little disappointed if the fraud was going to turn up to actually be, you know,
Right? Actually
yeah.
be a fraud. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I loved it. So everyone who's still watching, I know a lot of y'all have your filtering out with this. So what I think the whole plot of this is, everybody, no, not the whole plot, the extra cherry on top. Okay. I've been waiting to share this. I messaged Crystal as soon as I saw she was done so that I could tell her this. Um, well, because you did finish it before me. That's what happened. You finished it like an hour before I did. That's what
Yeah.
happened because I took so long. And then I was like, oh, she's done, so I can say this. So everyone who is a fan of Ian McKenzie,
Yes, yes.
this book, this book takes place the same time. Okay, takes place in 1890s. That book takes place in 1881. So Ian will still be around. Um, when they go to see the dish in the future, so well, not even the future, in the 1950s, right? I had this thought because I was like, wait, I know that Ian is like a grandpa around like the 30s or 50s, whatever. Anyway, point being, I looked up the dates and I was like, oh my gosh, how much money they got for this piece of pottery he made. I had a feeling in my heart that Ian definitely auction put in, but he knew it was fake because it's Ian.
Yeah.
So he jacked up the price because he was like, this person's such a good forgery. They deserve lots of money. So that's my retcon I made, is that he definitely, if he heard this rare piece of pottery
Mhm.
was up for sale, he's there, everybody.
Yeah.
But he knew it was fake. And instead of telling, he was like, I'm just going to jack the price up on this. Sorry, that's totally my own. But I'm just saying they take place at the same time. And I'm saying it's a thing. But anyway, I loved what he was doing the whole time, that he was perfecting that and that he was going to do that for them. And then, yeah, he's ready to do it right up until the last minute. And then in the morning, the letter that he wrote her,
Gosh, the letter.
that he's there when she wakes up, which circumvents or like flips on its head what happens so many times. The heroine
Mhm.
always wakes up alone after they've left. And
Yeah.
he's like, read the letter. And she's like, I don't want to read it. And he's like, I'm still going to be here when it's done. But let's read it so you see what it says. And so she reads the whole thing. And he's like, that's what I was going to say. But like, I'm going to stay. Like, why would I go? I'm going to stay. And I'm like, yes, Courtney. Yeah. All the way to the last page. She did that in the Mistress one too. And there was not even an epilogue in that one. She went to the
Yeah.
last, at least there was an epilogue in this one, but went to the last page of he's like, why am I going to go? Like, the important thing is you guys get the money and that
Yeah.
I fixed it. And like, why would I go? And, but I
Mhm.
love too that like she never threw a fit. She never was like, you have to stay. She knew that's what he was in the beginning. She knew that's where he was going by the end.
Mhm.
She made herself clear that like, I love you. If you stay, I want to be with you, but you do what you got to do. Like, that also is very brave because again, there were so many potentials for third act conflict as being
Oh
a
yeah.
breakup. There
Yeah.
was all these opportunities, like I said, with his dad showing up, with finding out what he was going to do. Like, the town could have been disgusted by that, but instead they're
Mhm.
like, "That's amazing, let's do it!" Like, they were all in on all of it, and like they got to be a part of the fraud kind of sort of thing, which I was
Yeah.
like, "That's an interesting way to do it." And yeah, like I loved how it ended, and then to flash forward to them being like grandparents and taking the kid there, and he's like, I haven't taught anyone to do this, and his granddaughter's like, how can we make that, Papa? That was good. Like, it was great. It
So
was great.
I
I know.
I honestly, I thought I would like this book. I like Courtney and Milan. I thought I would like both of them. I was not prepared to love this book at all. I was not prepared to love it like I did. So,
I love that.
yeah.
I love that you felt that. That's fantastic. And you know what? I have never heard of that before. This is for our historical romance book club. So check out one of my other videos with, I think, Natasha Knight. Does she write Mafia? I think she
I
might
feel
write
like
Mafia.
that sounds right.
But yeah, this is
I
our
think I may
historical
have one.
romance book club. So
Yeah.
I am haven't read any of this. Got the impression they were great grand. Oh, probably Linda. Come on, it's grandchildren. Whatever. I don't question me about that part of it. But I thought that was so cute that they were
It
there for that.
was.
That was great.
Yeah.
But anyway, and so our answer for this one is definitely
Yeah, for sure.
we're gonna read the next one because what we were saying is book 3 is Andrew's book, which is her cousin, and
I'm very excited about that.
that one is the what's that one called?
It's the Earl or something, isn't
What
it?
the Earl who isn't? Yeah, the Earl who isn't. There we
Yeah.
go. yeah, I definitely getting that one too.
Oh yeah, this one came out 2023. I was wrong. I've just had it forever. I was just
Okay,
looking at
because I
it.
was like, I was pretty sure it was like the very end of the month or very end of the year because I pre-ordered it and was planning to read it, and then I had all my rereads to do.
Yeah.
So it just
I
obviously
love it
gave up
so
too
much.
soon. Oh well, I hope we convinced you. Like I said, I totally get it if you did because I
Yeah.
wasn't going to DNF it. Like I said, it was for book club, but I was like, oh, I'm kind of bored, and then it takes off, man.
Yeah.
This is your
Yeah.
first Courtney book, and you're excited to read more. Yeah,
Oh, that's
she is.
exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's great. I love her writing. I think she's
Yeah.
fabulous.
Highly recommend you read Jeremy and Chloe's book, the
Mhm.
one before this, because that one
Yeah.
is she's older than him. He's a complete golden retriever. Like I also had a note
Oh
of like
yeah.
Jeremy had a great one liner at the end too. I was like, oh Jeremy, I love him. He's such a sweetheart.
I
Jeremy is such a sweetheart.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what would you call this type of hero? I wouldn't call him.
He was a beta. He was a cinnamon roll beta to me. But
Yeah.
with absolute love. He's not an
I
alpha
think
hero.
he's a German
So
Shepherd hero. I think German
sure.
Shepherd hero.
That's a good one.
Like he's
That works.
protective
I like that.
when he needs to be. Yeah.
What type of hero would be the giant schnauzer?
Well,
I don't know
they're
if
a
he's
little.
the hero energy. Second son. Second son.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Okay, we'll get close to this. We're an hour and a half in here. So
All
we're
right.
gonna do another session, everybody. Okay.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
Crystal and I talked, and like we do want to get back to monthly books, hopefully. That is the hope sometime. But just in looking what like the second half of the year is going to be, and also to not bite off more than we can chew right away because
Hmm.
we both have book clubs and lots of things. But we want to keep doing this because obviously, look how much fun we had getting back into
Yeah.
this and
This
everything.
was fun.
This is fantastic. So we did the same thing again. We each picked a book. And then again, we didn't set a date, but this one we are going to aim for like the first 2 weeks of November sometime. So to be before the holidays and everything. And then like if we do a winter session, that won't be until like January, February, and we'll skip past all the holidays. So that's
Yeah.
why I feel at least doing seasonal sessions for the rest of this year is good because we'll be out of the holidays then and we can see. Oh, my other reason is I'm also still doing Outlander book club too. So I was
Oh
like, I
yeah.
don't need to have too many in. But
That's a big
so yeah,
one.
right. So we each picked a book again.
Hmm.
And I'll share what mine is. Mine, oh my gosh, I even have a bookmark in this because I meant to read this one multiple times. But the one that I picked was All Through the Night by Connie Brockway. This book, I know for sure is on Kindle Unlimited, and I think the audio, it has an audio. I don't think this one is read and listen. One of the ones I had was read and listen, but All Through the Night. This one says it's Regency England, and it's a widowed lady who's also a masked thief. Um, and so I thought that was fun. And then Colonel Jack Seward is setting a trap and so she's going to try to use seduction to get out of it. So this one's been on my TBR forever. It's
I've had a
recommended by
few
one of my
people.
viewers. So
Yeah, I've had a few people, at least a few people, recommend that to me too. So I'm excited
yeah,
about that one.
Connie
Yeah.
Brockway, I think, does a lot of Western. Am I
I was
right
gonna
about
say,
that? Does
does
she
she do
Western?
westerns? Yeah.
I don't know. Either way, this is one that I picked. It has the audiobook, it has the ebook. So that's what I'm going with.
Okay, Jen, can you say the title of mine? Because my mind has blanked and I didn't bring
Yep,
notes.
it is Matter
A
of
matter,
Class.
okay, Matter of Class by Susie Murphy, right?
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
this is
Mm-hmm.
a sweeping Irish historical romance. This is on Kindle Unlimited, and there is an audio for it as well, and you can get a paperback too. So it has all formats, but I don't think this one is read and listen.
Oh, it's a class apart. The series is a Matter of Class. Sorry.
Oh,
There's a
okay.
Mary
Class
Ballard called A Matter of Class, so that's why I got those
a
confused.
class
But
apart. Okay.
class
But
apart.
Jen made us some really pretty graphics. Are we posting those tomorrow? When are we posting those?
This week. This week.
This week? Okay.
by Thursday or Friday. I have to look at what I have already scheduled, but
Okay.
then I'll
I don't have
also.
I don't have my posts. I'm just like, I want to post this right now, so I will.
I know. It's almost reviews. I'll send it. I mean, yeah, you can post it, and I'll just add me into it. But yeah, we'll like with this one, we'll announce when the day is once we know for sure. But
Yeah.
we're gonna aim for the first 2 weeks of November.
Mhm.
So yeah, we'll have that, and then yeah, that'll be the plan. So
Yeah.
those are both
Excited.
new to me authors.
Yep.
Very excited about them.
I'm
Um,
excited.
yeah, it's gonna be good. But anyway, this was fantastic.
It
Thank
was
you
so
guys.
fun. Thank you for coming back. I'm
Yes,
excited. We're
yes,
gonna
we're so happy we did it again. See, I still
we are.
have my shirt on. Everybody, I
Yes.
need to like get new
It's so
for some of these.
beautiful.
It was great. But anywho, well, you guys have a wonderful night, and we'll see you on our channels and that other fun stuff. So,
Yeah. See y'all later.
bye.